Hello everybody, how's it going today? My name is Joe Bedogne, I'm a real estate agent. In this video, we are going to talk about real estate investing. Now, why would somebody make the choice to invest in real estate and become a real estate investor? And the answer to that is actually because people are looking to get what they call a passive income, meaning that they have money coming in while they are busy doing other things with their time. In most cases, with business owners, it's generating other forms of passive income. But a lot of this information comes from a famous real estate investor by the name of Robert Kiyosaki, and he wrote a book called The Cash Flow Quadrant. He also has Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He has several books that pertain to the mindset available to all of us when it comes into real estate investing and creating the passive type of income. Now, he talks about his cash flow quadrant, and basically it's the four ways in which we, as a society, generate income. Now, you have your employee, which is the people that, like I am, believe it or not, because I also work for a regular job on top of real estate, but somebody who goes to a job, they put in a certain amount of time, they do a certain task, and they get paid a certain amount of money for the time that they put in. Typically W-2 income earners. Then there's your self-employed, which are your 1099 income earners, but those are still the people that are trading time for money, and those are your contractors or your construction workers, your plumbers, journeyman type individuals, or those are your lawyers, doctors, in many cases, even real estate professionals and real estate agents fall into the category of a self-employed business owner. And over here on what they call the left side of the quadrant, they say 95% of the workforce is fighting over 5% of the wealth. They have a small slice of pie that they're fighting over. Okay? And again, they're trading time for money on the left side of the quadrant. Now, the right side of the quadrant, you have 5% of the income earners, and they're fighting over 95% of the wealth. At least they talk about that in the cash flow quadrant. Now, there's a lot of ways to look at this, and people argue and debate about income inequality, and realistically, it comes down to the fact that people on either side of the quadrant, they're all noble sections to be in, but the people on the right really understand how money's made, and they understand what to do with money in the right way. Now, as a B business, or that's big business or B business, as a B business owner, basically you've figured out a way how to leverage your time. So you created a system, and you had a systematic approach to generating money. And then as an investor, you're leveraging your money for your money. And this is kind of right here where the rock stars live. All right. And as a real estate investor, you're kind of dabbling in between this and this once you reach there. But most real estate investors start here, and it takes a while to get over here and then to go down there. I mean, it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, it takes a lot of money, it takes a lot of time. It's not something that happens overnight, and it's not something for nothing. So now that I'm done rambling about that, you're probably wondering, what the hell does any of this have to do with real estate? So, one of the vehicles that Robert Kiyosaki talks about is real estate investing. All right? So what types of real estate investing are there? Well, first off, there's what's called wholesaling, which it's a very complicated subject that I don't have a lot of knowledge in, so we're actually not going to discuss wholesaling at all. So let's not talk about wholesaling, but that is an option available to you, and there's a lot of resources online to learn how to do wholesaling. But we're not going to talk about that because I'm not knowledgeable in wholesaling. There is fix and flips. And that seems to be what a lot of people, the conception, when a lot of people think about real estate investing, they think about fix and flips. And this is where I can help you find the types of property that are available for fix and flips. Now, what you need to do is you need to find a distressed property in a particular area. And based on that area, there's going to be a market value for the houses, that type of house in a particular region. And you want to find a property that is well below what that market value is, and you want to purchase that property. Now, there's several ways we'll get into how you can purchase those properties. If you want to purchase that property, you want to calculate what the rehab costs are going to be associated with. Then you want to make sure that after you bought the house and paid for the rehab costs, and then you go ahead and sell it to what the market value is, you're still going to be able to gain at least about 20% out of it total, okay? So your purchase price and your rehab costs should be 80% or less than what the market value of that particular property is. And that's essentially fixing and flipping. Now, when you buy that house, there's going to be some stuff involved with it. You're going to have to do the rehab work. So if you have knowledge base or you're even licensed as a contractor, it's really a good option for you because you can save on a lot of the rehab costs by doing it yourself. But again, you're going to be on that left side of the quadrant. You're going to be trading your time for your money. You're going to be putting a lot of effort, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into that house in order to turn it for that profit. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, I don't have money. I can't just buy a house just to fix it up. And yeah, you're right. You can't. At the beginning, a lot of people can't. So what you do is you find other people that are willing to go in on that property with you. So your first couple deals when you're doing fix and flips, you might want to have a group of 5 or 6 people that are in your network that you work together with, that you all chip in, and you guys split out how the profits will be divvied up once, depending on who invests what into that property. You can work out deals like that. You can work out deals where there are some investors that'll fund the property for you up front, and they'll just ask for a percentage of the profits at the end of it. There are certain investors that'll actually do that for you. Sometimes you can work deals out with various construction people and those types of contractors that'll help you fund that property. And yes, you can even take out a traditional mortgage for that. There are banks that will loan you money for this, but you want to find a way to fund these projects. And when you fund the project, you get the profits at the end of it, then you can use that profit to invest in another property, so on and so forth, and eventually you can build up a decent portfolio of your fix and flips. And then from there, the last, you want to buy and hold. Now, there are a couple options when it comes to buy and hold. One of the traditional mindsets is, okay, so think about the option of buying a plot of land in an undeveloped area, and you're essentially just paying taxes on that land for however long you hold on to it. But it's an area that you know is going to develop in 10 years. So in 10 years, when land developers go through there, they might want to buy that property, and they're going to give you premium dollar for it. That's a way where it's buy and hold. So, I mean, when you talk about buy and hold, you're talking about the long game. This is where the long game's played, but the long game is how you get to that investor side of the cash flow quadrant. Another option, and this is probably the most common, believe it or not, is rental properties. Now, rentals are hard. It's not an easy thing to do because, first off, you have to market the property, make sure that you have your tenant, that you have occupancy in your rental properties. And, you want to make sure that your tenants are going to pay the rent. You want to make sure that your tenants aren't going to tear up your property. So a lot of people will get into rental properties. They won't screen their tenants right. The tenants will tear up their property. They're going to lose their butt on it, and then they'll never, ever, ever do rental properties again. I have people in my life that love doing rental properties and people that have gotten out of all the rental properties because it's been too much hassle. So it's important that you screen your tenants when you're doing rental properties. Now, a couple disclosures and disclaimers here. I mean, when we talk about screening tenants, there's only 2 ways in which you can screen a tenant. Their financial status, meaning their credit score and, any income verification, that type of stuff. And you want to be diligent with that stuff. You want to see their W-2s. You want to see their pay stubs. You want to make sure that they have a decent credit score. It's in your best interest to do that. Don't take somebody's word for it. Go ahead and screen them out. And then criminal activity, you can screen them and see if they're on the sex offender list or find out if they have any history of violent crime, that type of stuff. Other than that, you have to comply with fair housing laws. You have to comply with ethical standards that are put, even if you're not a licensed agent, you still are required to adhere to ethical standards. And if you don't, you can actually get in a lot of trouble for it. And you're not allowed to screen your tenant based on race, sex, national origin, familial status, those types of religion, those types of groups that are protected by anti-discrimination laws. So you got to be extremely careful not to screen your tenants on those ways. And if I were to represent you during one of these transactions, I would guarantee you that I won't work with you if you're going to discriminate against somebody and it's not financial and it's not about their criminal activity. So with that disclaimer out of the way, you're probably not going to make a lot of money off of one rental property. You might make $100 because what you got to do is you want to set the rent price to be consistent with, okay, so how much are you paying in the mortgage if you have a mortgage on it? What are you paying in your monthly expenses, your taxes and your utilities and homeowners associations, that type of stuff. So, you want to make sure that you set the rent price to cover those and give you a little bit of a profit. So, in many cases, you might only make $100 off of a rental property, maybe 2, maybe 3, depending on the property. But you're not going to make a lot of money off of one rental property. What about 2 rental properties? What about 3? You're still not going to make a lot of money, but one thing that we as realtors recommend, and as I recommend as somebody who wants to get into rental investments, just try to get one at a time. Start with your first one, okay? See how that goes. And then work up funding, maybe do a flip or 2, maybe you borrow some money from somewhere else and get your second rental property. And then, try to add 1 or 2 or 3 rental properties a year, depending on what you can afford. Slowly but surely, you're going to have that portfolio built up. And, you're going to start bringing in some passive money from that. And once you get to a certain point, and that all depends on your own business model, then you want to hire a property management company to start handling that for you. And that's when you start getting to the systematic side, the B business, where you have a system in place where you're bringing money in without really doing a whole lot of work. And as somebody who is an entrepreneur, though, you're going to keep digging. So it's not that you're sitting around being passive and cool and the rest of my laurels. No, you're going to take that money, you're going to take what you have and the time that you've freed yourself up to invest it somewhere else and continue to grow. And eventually, over many, many years and a lot of time, you might have an option to retire early. You might actually finally have that passive income where you're like, well, good. Like, I'm good. Like, I don't have to ever worry about money again. And, that's possible. And believe it or not, in that cash flow quadrant, 5% of the population reaches that. And you can be one of that 5%. There's a lot of room there. People will welcome you into that club. It's not like it's an exclusive club. It's just, are you willing to do the work necessary to get there? And that's what it's all about. And that's where I think people can look at real estate investing as an option for them. There are a lot of resources out there. I, as a realtor, of course, can help you and guide you there. But also, I went to a website called biggerpockets.com, and there's a lot of information on there that talks about real estate investing. I do recommend checking that out. And, again, if any of this information was valuable for you, be sure to subscribe to my channel, give it a thumbs up. Have any questions, comments, or concerns, put it in the comment section. And last but not least, if you are in the market to buy, sell, or invest in real estate within the state of Michigan, feel free to reach out to me at joerealdeals@gmail.com. I'd be glad to answer any of your questions and get the process started. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.